Hopefully you've all read about our special guest this month. He's the Chief Operating Officer of DX Engineering and has one of the premier contest stations in the country. I know a lot of you know who he is already, so I don't need to belabor the point. But we have with us tonight Mr. Tim Duffy, K3LR, and please bear with me because I'm gonna help go through his presentation while he talks about these different things. But I'm gonna try to keep his picture up here so you can you all see him? Yeah. All right, Tim, take it away. Thanks for being here tonight. We really appreciate it.
Okay, Scott. Thanks very much for the invitation. It's great to talk to the Greensboro Amateur Radio Association. And looks like a lot of customers there this evening. And I am here in Western Pennsylvania, West Middlesex, Pennsylvania, to be accurate, right along Interstate 80, where the sun is starting to set. We actually have sunset officially in about 25 minutes at this time of year. And so Scott, I give you up and that guy, which the first slide says K3LR.
Yep, that's what we got. Yep, we got it.
As far as you can, if you go to the second slide, it shows that the K3LR is 65 miles northwest of Pittsburgh, right on the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. If you go to the next slide, it shows you Interstate 80, and Interstate 80 runs from Jersey, California. It is a major interstate highway, and I am actually out my kitchen window and see both the east and westbound lanes of Interstate 80. My property actually goes right up against it. And from time to time, I've had visitors that have visited here by just parking alongside the road and hopping over the fence to walk to the shack here at K3LR. There's a visitor center that is not too far away as well. And but I'm about as far west as you can get in CQ Zone 5. If you see that 1 mile away is the state of Ohio, and so we're very close to the Ohio border. But we a lot of times we'll be working stations in the DX contest, and they'll say, "Boy, it's nice to work the East Coast." Well, K3LR is really not the East Coast. We're quite a ways away from what would be known as the East Coast, butting up against Ohio. But the great thing about Ohio is that DX Engineering is in Ohio, which is where I go to work every day. And as you can imagine, having a career that is the same thing as my hobby that I've enjoyed for the last almost 44 years is pretty incredible. So 48 miles away from K3LR is the world headquarters of DX Engineering. And it's actually, it is right off of Interstate 76, which is a continuation of Interstate 80. So I really don't have to do much but point the car west in the morning, point the car east in the evening, and that's how I get to and from the office. The next slide shows just how magical this QTH is. In the DX contest business, which is what K3LR is in, Europe is the most important direction. And this shows the headings to Europe. You can see Interstate 80 there as well. And the second most important direction is towards Asia into Japan. But as we go into Europe, there's a river that is very close to K3LR, but it actually falls off almost 300 feet in the directions of Europe and Japan. And I actually moved to this QTH before we had a lot of software programs like HFTA and others to tell us about the slope of takeoff and just how out that this was a very magical QTH because of that fall off into that riverbed, both towards Europe and towards Japan. There's a little bit of elevation increase towards Australia and New Zealand, not too bad, and it's pretty flat towards the Caribbean, but more than 75% of our contests come from Europe, and another 10% come from Japan. So those are two very important directions for making our HF antennas work. The next slide is just a shot from overhead. This is actually from Google Earth, showing the northern half of the antenna system here at K3LR. And you can see, just by the way things are grouped, some of the four squares that are used. And we have four squares on every band except for 160 meters. 160 meters has its own 5-element parasitic Yagi array that can be shot in 4 directions. There are actually 2 4 squares on 80 meters. It's sort of like stacking beams. We're stacking 4 squares on 80 meters for the run station there. And then the tallest tower is in the bottom part of the photo, and that is the 40-meter run tower. With its mast, it's 275 feet tall. I think it actually is now the tallest amateur radio dedicated tower in the world. It is quite an array of antennas on it, but it is a very tall tower that we use primarily for 40 and also for 10 and 20 meters. The next slide shows the southern half of the property, and there's an array for 15 meters, an array for 10 meters, and an array for 20 meters that is on a 245-foot tower and mast. So it's also very tall and has a lot of stacked Yagis on it. The next slide shows one of the stations in the K3LR shack. The K3LR shack is a basement that is 32 feet by 32 feet. It encompasses 11 operating positions. There are 2 operating positions for every band except for 160 meters. And so each operating station has what we call a run station, which is a station that calls CQ primarily for the entire DX contest. And then also the second station, which is what we call the molt station, or the search and pounce station. And his job is to actually tune around and find stations that are calling CQ. And the 2 stations on a band are interlocked, so that only one station at a time on that band can transmit. So if the run station is transmitting, then the multiplier station cannot transmit. The particular slide that you're looking at is the 20-meter station. It's a very active station, obviously, throughout the entire 48-hour period. On the right side is the run station. So there's an IC 7851 and a stack of rotor boxes, its own computer, single band amplifier on the right-hand side, and a watt meter, and its dedicated 4 high stack antennas. On the left side is the multiplier station, or the search and pounce station for 20 meters. It has its rotor boxes, its dedicated single band amplifier, and an IC 7851 that is to it, and also its own computer log. Computer logging program that we use, WinTest. WinTest is written by a group of very smart French contest hams. They are also rocket engineers. They're in charge of the rocket program for France and routinely operate from French Guiana, Fox Yankee 5 Yankee Echo in French Guiana. So you'll hear them on the various DX contests. But those are the guys that write the WinTest software that we use on all of our logging computers. The next slide shows what the 15-meter station looks like. They're a little closer together, but you get the same idea. Two radios, two computers, two amplifiers, two sets of rotor controls. In the center of this photo is a multiplier bell. At the 24-hour mark, we bring out the bells. So anytime a new multiplier is worked on a given band, we actually will ring the bell. It would drive us nuts in the first 24 hours, so it's in the second 24 hours. And it is a good motivator for working new multipliers. The next slide shows the 10-meter stations. The left-hand station is the multiplier station, the right-hand station is the run station. This is N3GJ and K9GY operating in a CW contest. Here again, two radios, two amplifiers, so forth, and taking just a very short break away from the 10-meter activity. The next slide shows that 40-meter tower that we were talking about. And it's a little tough to gauge scale here. This tower supports 140 square feet of wind load, which is a pretty incredible amount of wind load. It has a lot of antennas on it. There are 3 full-size 40-meter beams at 260, 190, and 120 feet. And two lower beams are on ring rotors. Each one of these 40-meter beams weighs 370 pounds. They're 50-foot booms, and the reflectors of the most components, they're 75 feet long. So it's a huge antenna. There's 3 of them stacked there. There's also 2 very large 20-meter beams that are used by the multiplier station on 20 meters. There's 2 gentlemen used on 6-foot booms. There are 4 10-meter beams up here. The top is 207 feet, and it is 9 elements on 60-foot components used by the second station on 10 meters. Sometimes that's the only antenna that can work a multiplier for when the band is new. And there are 3 more 10-meter antennas. You can only see one of them there on the bottom that are down the tower, and then we added 160-meter horizontal wall or flag here in the last few months to this tower. A horizontal, rotatable 160-meter receiving antenna on this tower. This tower is made by, all of the towers here at K3 are made by Pyrod, and they're out of Illinois, and Pyrod, the thing about these towers is the legs on the tower are solid steel, made out of pipe or tubular tubing. They're solid steel. In this particular tower, it's got a 24-inch base on it. The next slide shows the CW skimmer rack here in the dining room of K3LR, and actually you can see that over my shoulder is the CW skimmer rack. There are 6 software-defined radios, SDRs. These are first radios from Italy. And then there's a companion Microsoft Windows 7 PC that drives each one of these. These are used during the CW contest to copy stations calling CQ contest on the 6 HF contest bands. And they're also hooked to the reverse beacon network. There are also computers here for the K3LR DX cluster and one of the servers that takes care of the housekeeping of K3LR, looking at the furnace system, the alarm systems here LR as well. So lots of, there are now 27 computers inside the K3LR station, between the station and the barn that houses all the sleeping for the operators. Lots of computers going on. People often ask, how do you know if you won or you lost? And some people will say, well, geez, you got to wait until the magazine comes out. And that's true. Before the final results are known, but right after the end of each one of our multi-op contests, and we operate 4 DX contests every year. The CQ Worldwide Phone, the CQ Worldwide CW, that's in October and November, and then in February and March we operate the ARRL International DX Competition, CW and Phone. So those are the 4 major contests contests that we do every year. And once these contests are over on Sunday night, we actually gather with other multi stations in the United States and exchange scores. So we pretty much know at the end of the contest on 3830 who is the winner. And so we compare scores right away, and we have a pretty good idea of who the winning team is going to be. Here is a view of what WinTest, one of the windows on WinTest looks like. This is the summary window, which we watched during the contest, that actually tells us how many, what band, how many QSOs were made on that band, how many CQ zones were worked on that band so far, how many DXCC countries were worked, how many duplicate contacts, what the number of points are for those QSOs, and what the average points per QSO on those bands. And you can see this is the end of this. It's pretty close to the end where we made 12,687 QSOs and 789 countries, and the score was 32.8 million points. K3LR holds the records, the USA multi records in the CQ Worldwide SSB, the CQ Worldwide CW, and the ARRL CW contest currently. So we hold record high scores there. Back in 1992, when we first did our first multi, just before that, a current multi competitor came up to me at Dayton at the Hamvention and said, "I don't know why you're putting up all these antennas in Western Pennsylvania. You guys will never win from that far west." And so 36 moons later, that's sort of locker room material. We use that to keep us motivated, and we're having a lot of fun in this multi business. Next slide shows, if you've watched the ICOM video about K3LR, you know we have a deep love of coffee and tea, and so we have big time coffee machines here that make fresh coffee and tea one cup at a time, and basically take over the whole house when we have 12 to 15 operators here for 48 hours at the multi events. And the last slide is the real reason we do all this multi stuff. We're best friends, and many of the operators here have known each other for over 40 years. And I feel like I've grown up with all these guys. And so some of them are the best operators in the United States. You know, guys like VE3EJ. If you look in the front row there on the left side, sitting down, that's Ward Silver, N0AX, who is the author of Ham Radio for Dummies. He's also the author of the ARRL Handbook and the ARRL Antenna Book, and is the chief coordinator for the FCC test question pool. So that guy is very busy, and he is one heck of a CW operator. So feel fortunate that he comes out to K3LR every year to operate with us in the ARRL DXCW competition. So those are my slides, and Scott, I know you had submitted some questions to me, so I can start by going through and answering some of those questions if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be perfect. If you don't mind doing that, I think that would be a great place to start. We'll probably try to get some questions from these guys here in a little bit, and let's start with those, and I think that would be a good place to kick some other stuff off. Thank you.
Sure. So one of the questions was, when was the station established? And K3LR, or Tim Duffy, I was WN3 Sugar Zulu X-ray when I was 12 years old in 1972. And I went through several different, I had a home station, and then I partnered with some guys, and then finally ended up here, this QTH, in 1987. And so this station was started in 1987, and has, so just about 30 years of building this station here. And then in 1992, we did multi for the first time. And of question was, why has it grown to the size that it is now? Well, because I was capable of doing it, I guess is the reason why, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm running out of room. I've actually bought property across the street and started to put antennas over there. So and I'm always thinking, in fact, I spent a lot of yesterday walking around the yard thinking about what projects we're going to do this year. How much is invested in it? And the honest answer is, I don't know. Most of this stuff was bought used. All of the towers were bought used, and a lot of the antennas were bought used. I've designed many of the run antennas myself, so I really have lost track of how much is invested in it, but I only have one hobby, and it's this. And so it's been a very good hobby, and we're going to continue to do that. What is the performance of the different beam arrays that are available? Well, I'll tell you, it's pretty amazing. We have large stacked arrays for almost all the bands, and I can tell you that it pays off, especially the 40-meter stack that is the 3 high stack. When we added that antenna at 260 feet, it really helped our 40-meter scores. And I've heard recordings of what we sound like in Southeast Asia on 40 meters, and it's pretty incredible. So the operator inside can choose between just one antenna, 2 antennas, 3, 4 antennas, or any of the combinations. So there's about, on the 4 high stacks, there are 10 combinations that he can choose from. And so depending upon what the takeoff angle is and what the propagation is at that given time, we have a lot of flexibility here by those arrays. And it says, how does the station compare to a typical station with a wire antenna or a tri-band beam? Well, frequently we have field day here for the local radio club. I'm president of the Mercer County Amateur Radio Club, and the guys like to come out here for field day. But we also will erect wire antennas and tri-band antennas as part of the field day exercise. And so these stacked monoband Yagis can be anywhere from 10 to 15 dB, sometimes 20 dB better than those antennas. And I mean, it's a matter of physics, boom length, elements, and height above ground. Are the amps always used? And the answer to that question is, in a DX contest, yes. These are single band amplifiers that I've built over the years. There is one multi-band amplifier. It's used on the 80 run position. It was owned by a good friend of mine, K3TUP, so that's the reason it's there. But they're always, in the DX contest, always used. But when we operate field day here, we don't run the amplifiers. We do have a 50 kW generator on site. So in the event that during one of the major DX contests, we have a power outage, we're in good shape. It runs on natural gas. We run that generator continuous for the field day weekend. And in the event that there's an emergency, we are ready to go here with all these antennas and emergency power and sleeping quarters and everything you could want for an emergency station. I'm also section manager, ARRL section manager of the Western Pennsylvania section. So I'm active in a lot of the emergency preparedness nets every week on 75 meters, on 2 meters, on 6 meters. So I'm very active not only in contests, but also on the emergency preparedness side. This last Saturday, we had a 4-hour test with our local hospitals, and I was a part of that. So I do have a lot of preparation in the emergency area. What are the most interesting contacts that have been made from K3LR? Well, I would tell you that there are a couple that stick out. One of the ones that sticks out prominently is one morning during the CQ Worldwide phone contest, we heard B7P coming
long path on 75 meters. So this is in the morning, just around sunrise. We heard Bravo 7 Papa from China, and we were able to break through the West Coast, and I actually got a QSL card for that. So that's a very, very, very hard QSO that was made on 75 meters, and so I would say that that's one of the memorable QSOs. And it says, what is the DXCC count? Well, I haven't worked them all because I haven't tried to work them all. If you look on the VK0EK Herd Island list, you'll see that K3LR has yet to work VK0EK. And I will probably work them eventually, but to me, I'm not really a DXer. I mean, in a contest, all the countries are new at Zero Zulu. So, you know, maybe at some point in my life I'll become more concerned with the DXCC, but right now I have 331 worked and about 325 confirmed, but not really pursuing hard every band mode country like a lot of guys. Maybe I should, but actually right now, even 160 meters is shut down for the year. Once we get through the March ARL contest, we actually ground and take a lot of the preamps out of the field to protect them from lightning, and a lot of the radios are disconnected. So, you know, that limits the amount of DX. I think contacts are in the law. I'll tell you, since 1992, we have worked over 650,000 QSOs. And each one of those QSOs is up on the Law Book of the World, up on EQSL, up on Form. I have sent paper cards for every one of those QSOs. So I have a barn full of return cards that guys have sent back. And I am a huge believer in QSL. I do a lot of direct QSLing, folks that send me QSL cards. They don't sit here for more than a day or two, and I confirm them back. So I remember years ago when I was a teenager getting QSL cards, and that spirit has never left me. There are a few questions about DX engineering, and so I'll answer those now, Scott, and then we'll go into the audience and see what else is up. And the question is, how did DX engineering start up? Well, for those of you in the audience that were hams in the 60s and 70s and even 80s, you might remember there was a company in California called DX Engineering that made speech processors. They were RF speech processors that were added on to Drake and Collins radios. And so I think that was the first DX engineering. And then that company folded up when RF speech processing became part of radios. In the 80s and early 90s, there was a company called DX Engineering in Oregon that made log periodics and monoband beams and some RF switches. And actually, that was the DX Engineering brand that was purchased in the early 2000s by a ham who owned Summit Racing, and he had an interest in some of the products that DX Engineering made, and so that became DX Engineering in Talmadge, Ohio, and I got involved. I had done 25 years in the cellular telephone industry. I was Chief Technology Officer at Telia One. I was a Senior Vice President in AT&T. And then I did 4 years, I did a startup wireless internet business in Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Kansas. And after I finished with that, my son went off to college, and I decided that maybe I'd like to become involved with DX Engineering. And I had kept in touch with the guys at DX Engineering over the years. I was one of their top customers, obviously, building all this stuff. Most of it came from DX Engineering, so it became a very, very good place for me, and I've almost 3 years there now, and so it's worked out very well. How did the DX Engineering Research and Development Department start? Well, it started on day one when it said, hey, what kind of cool stuff could we build for hams that hams would want to buy and hams would need? I can tell you that it is one of my #1 focuses is on new products, and we build some of the coolest stuff from the standpoint of switches and beverages and receiving arrays and chokes and baluns and antennas. We're about to introduce almost 20 new products at Dayton, so I think it is just incredible, some of the stuff that we've got going on. How do you go about designing products like those for low band phasing, the hex beam, noise reduction phasing box, etc.? You know, they start as ideas. Sometimes the ideas come from customers. I also keep myself very plugged into a lot of reflectors and a lot of what's going on with various guys around the world and some of their challenges and wants. And we have a number of consulting engineers that work for DX Engineering, as well as a good team internally. And then we've got all sorts of beta test sites, including here, where we try some of these new products to see if they're really going to work out. So we've got a real proven method to make these new products work. And does DX Engineering actively seek new products from startups? We do. You know, I think as evidenced by the fact that we've done several acquisitions. We acquired Comtech Systems, was our first acquisition, and we acquired Cycle 24, where we've got some really cool clamps. Then we acquired Venture Butternut, where we acquired all the Butternut verticals and the Skyhawk and Skylark Yagi antennas, which was kind of a coming home because I was co-designer of the Venture Skyhawk many years ago. And so, you know, we've done several good acquisitions. Our most recent acquisition was the Pixel and Logis RF Pro 1B loop antenna that was used for fighting noise on 160 and 80 meters. And so we just recently started manufacturing that antenna in Talmadge, and stay tuned because we are far from done on the acquisition trail. So I look for opportunities that to make DX Engineering grow, and we will continue to grow. So those were the questions, Scott, that you had on the emails that we had traded. I'm here for as long as you guys want to talk,
Yes.
and be happy to answer anything else.
I think I have a question to start out myself. You looks like you have a good group of guys that help you with contesting there. Who it seems like maybe they're a fairly stable group of people. But do you have other people who come in and use your station, or how does all that work? Is there a normal rotation of people come in on the weekends, or the local clubs use it? How does all that work?
There's been over 130 different operators that have operated here over the years. Some of them have only operated here once. Some of them have operated here 75 times. I'm keenly aware of who are the best of the best in the business. And one of the things that we have is if you've operated here before and you worked out, you have first dibs on the chair coming back. So right now, there's over those 4 contests that we do, 30 different guys that it takes to do those 4 contests. And pretty much those 30 guys come back year after year. And as long as they continue to work out and they want to come back, because they have, you know, these guys are taking time away from their families, they're taking vacation away from their work, and they're paying for their plane tickets to come here. And if they're working out with the team, and you know, not everybody can work in this environment. This is a very, very focused, very tough thing that we're trying to win DX contests from being well off the East Coast. So it's a lot of hard work. If they want to continue to come back, they get first dibs on it. So, but you know, during field day and things like that, the local club, which has got over 60 members, we get a good turnout, and some of the smaller contests we may do from time to time, but pretty much the players work here.
Awesome, very cool. Well, let me see who else here might have a question for you. Anybody have anything that's burning on the top of your head right away? Chris? I'm gonna move the camera so you can see Chris.
Okay.
You're gonna trip over the mic cable. Hey Tim, this is Chris, K4HC, nice to meet you. And I think you partly answered this question because you have a son, but the question was, are you married? And is your wife a ham, and how does she put up with all this?
Yes, I am married 31 years, and she puts up with it by going to her sisters frequently. And yes, I have one son. He's actually a junior majoring in economics, so he's pretty close to you guys.
Good evening, Larry, K2 Lima Sugar. Which paddles do you use the most in the CW contest, if you do use them instead of keyboards?
Yeah, hi Larry. Yes, we do use paddles. Predominantly, we use them for just asking stations to maybe move. For the most part, you know, it's done with the computer, with the F keys, and F1 to call CQ, F4 call sign. But we do have the paddles there at each station, and predominantly they're venture. I do have a couple of special paddles that were either given to me over the years. Cade RA had a line of keys, and he was in Columbus. He and I were very good friends, and he actually made some very custom paddles that I have. So we have 2 or 3 of those, but for the most part, the venture paddles, nothing real special there. We use the keyers inside the ICOM radios, so more than adequate for what we're doing for this. We use the Bose headsets. These are the QC15s, that are noise canceling headsets. Extremely quiet because of the noise canceling. You know, there's a lot of fans and things in a multi-multi, and they work very well. But my role is that everything is here. Nobody brings any paddles, nobody brings any headsets, nobody brings any radios or amplifiers. Everything is here. The computers that are used for logging, that's all they do. The only thing that's on those computers is the look software. So right away, that takes a lot of the problems out of the equation, because all this stuff is dedicated and just set for one thing.
Very interesting. I use it. Have you ever heard of Northgate Computer Systems? A long time ago. They made a keyboard that has the F keys on the left-hand side. What an operating name that is.
Yeah, you know, I think we've all just gotten used to here the F keys across the top, and got used to it, and it's worked out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, who else?
Okay, well, we have a question about a little bit more casual operation. How often are you involved in rag chews, or just enjoying yourself on the radio?
That happens several times during the week. I'll be on, I like, just because of the time schedule, I like to get the 40 meters 10, 11 o'clock at night before I go to bed. And sometimes it's on phone, sometimes it's on CW. And I would say that's a favorite thing. Sometimes if 20 meters is open to Africa at that time of night, I'll get on and just, you know, have fun and brag chew. A lot of the guys that are active during the week are contesters. So, you know, you never know where the conversation's going to go. But I do like to get on during the week and just have fun.
Yeah, I suppose having a superstation makes reaction to Africa a little easier than it might be for some of us with a little bit more modest station. I think, Cameron, did you have a question? Oh, you did, but you raised your hand. I was all excited. I thought Cameron was going to. Let's see, who else has a question for Tim while we've got him here? I think I was thinking, so do you do, I was thinking about digital modes. I think you said something about reflectors. Are you into D-Star? Do you do any digital modes like that, or anything, beyond the CW and the sideband that you do in contests, or do you have interest outside the other thing? Let me ask you that.
Yes, actually, I'm a partner in D-Star here at brought here years ago. Actually did a program called D-Star Day, where we had some of the best D-Star brains in the country come in. We had about 100 guys attend D-Star Day here. So I'll be on D-Star Reflector 63 Charlie here in about an hour. We have our Western Pennsylvania D-Star net every week, and so I'll be on D-Star tonight. And I enjoy D-Star. I think it's a great technology. I've also operated FL Digi, and I think this September K3LR will be on the CQ Worldwide Ready contest. We'll be on multi low power. Only single. We haven't quite, but we'll be on low power to kind of get our feet wet in that. So yes, I think the digital formats are pretty cool, and so we'll be doing more there.
So you're saying you're moving the QRP direction, in other words?
Well, let's not get carried away.
Okay.
Only 1,000 watts.
Yeah, only 1,000 watts, that's QOP for you, right? So let me ask you another, I have 1,000 questions I could probably ask. So what does Tim Duffy do when he's not doing ham radio? Is there a Tim Duffy without ham radio?
There really isn't, Scott. I think I've tried diversifying a little bit my interests, but I always just keep coming back to thinking about, this hobby and what can I do. When I'm not thinking about this station, I think a lot about what can I do to give back to this hobby that's been so good to me. And so back in 2006, I started at Dayton, Contest University, where, what spent, 25 years learning at Dayton by talking to guys in hallways and small hotel rooms of tips of how to get better in contesting. And one day, we have over 24 presentations at Contest University the day before the Dayton Hamvention. And this will be our 10th year. So in the 9 years leading up to this, we've had over 3,000 students at that Contest University. And then the first Contest University over the world. In fact, taught at the Contest University in Italy. I've been over to Italy twice for Contest University there. We get 350 people to show up. We've had contest universities in Brazil and Australia and Russia, in the UK, and it just really caught fire. So, I think that when I'm not thinking about the K3LR station, I'm thinking about other ways that I can give back to the hobby.
Wow, very cool. Yeah, I've seen all sorts of stuff about Contest University and the great job that you've done there. And, I think a lot of that bleeds down to the stuff we do, so we appreciate that a lot. What do you think is if you had to give someone who's interested in contesting but doesn't have the same kind of setup, give us a tip or two about what we should be thinking about. Of course, everybody's interested in radios, everybody's interested in antennas. But what do you think of maybe a tip or two would be if someone is not involved in contesting and wants to start getting involved in that?
Well, I think the single most important thing, Scott, is to listen to some of the good operators, research some of the call signs of guys that have done really well, and
like this past weekend was the CQ WPX contest, and I made 5 QSOs. It was it was a big weekend for me. But what I did was I listened a lot, and I'm constantly learning things from other operators and how they call CQ, what the frequencies are like, things like that. So the biggest tip I can give is to listen and to some of the best guys, and then try to do what they do and emulate their patterns. And you know, the other thing is don't get frustrated. Go to the high end of the band and call CQ. Don't be afraid to call CQ. And learn how to search and pounce. You know, and read as much as you can. There is so much information on the internet. A lot of these contest university sessions have been recorded, so they're available for playback whenever you want. And they're a treasure trove of information on contest operating. And I think contests like state QSO parties and field day are great avenues for leading in. And then don't be afraid to ask, you know, a local multi-single or multi-2 operation if they need help and they'd like another operator to sit down and work with them. And you'd be pleasantly surprised. I mean, I was 16 years old the first time I got up the guts to call them Team Multi and say, hey, you know, I'd like to come operate with you. And they said yes. So you never know. And so I did a lot of guest operating before I ever a good station of my own. And those guys are still out there today.
That is awesome. I think that's great advice. I really appreciate that. Let me ask you something on the flip side. What is Tim Duffy's biggest pet peeve? You know, we all kind of have little things we hear on the radio, and I'd like to hear what yours is.
Well, you know, I try to let the stuff roll, so I don't. I guess the biggest pet peeve is, you know, there are areas on 80 meters and where there are some guys, there's some amateur radio operators that are not behaving, and they're saying, doing some things that reflect very poorly on this hobby that I love so much, and that all of you in the room down there love so much. And so I would say that, you know, everybody is entitled to free speech and their own opinion, but it's my hope that over the 10, 15, 20 years, that there's a smaller number of people that are trying to do bad things to our hobby instead of building them up. So I think if I had a pet peeve, that would be it.
Great. Well, let's see if somebody else have any thoughts, questions? Surely, there's things coursing through your heads. About contesting, about DX engineering. Really? Cameron, come up with something. Yeah, Cameron is our president this year, so I'm putting him on the spot. How about that?
Oh, okay.
Hey Tim, I'm Cameron, AJ4TW. How you doing?
Hi, Cameron.
Yeah, Scott put me on the spot. Let's see. When can I come over?
You know, I guess I probably have had guys from North Carolina visit here, although I don't. I'm sure. Yeah. In fact, one of my very good friends was Jim Miller, K4SQR. Has operated here and has visited here several times. And I still keep in touch with Jim. When I was a teenager, Jim was working down in the canal zone. He was Kilo Zulu 5 Juliet, Mexico. And Norma, his wife, was down there with him, and I used to work Jim when he was in the canal zone. So that's my tie to North Carolina.
Nice. Let me ask you something about DXpeditions. Have you been on any? And if not, have you considered on going on any? you know, is that something that you see in your future? You know, I'm sure that you guys help a lot of those guys out with the DX engineering side of things, but have you, from a personal standpoint, thought about doing anything like that?
You know, we do, indeed, I'm very aggressive with helping out. We've got a lot of antennas and stuff down at Bird Island right now. We also sent a bunch of equipment to One Nova that'll be coming up here in another week or so. We've got 2 or 3 more D-Expeditions, big ones, that are on the top 10 list that we're working on. We sent a bunch of verticals to Scarborough Reef that's coming up. They'll be using the butternut verticals out there in the middle of the South China Sea, so that's going to be a pretty... And one of these times, or even more, I probably will become a part of one. It's a little tough to do because typically these big D expeditions take 3 or 4 weeks away, and you know, and sometimes they could be during major DX contests. So that could be an issue. But I have operated. I'm a consulting engineer for a radio station, an AM broadcast station in the British Virgin Islands in Angola the last 25 years. So I will show up as BP2B sometimes. I've operated from Ireland, where I vacationed, and over 1,000 QSOs. Also operated from Finland, Brazil, and Russia. So those weren't major DX stations, but I have operated outside the country, which was a lot of fun. But in the future, you never know.
Are you still, oh, right, I think one of my two, I had redundant internet connections and one of them just went away. That's all right, so long as you're still there.
I'm still here.
All right, great. Well, let's see, let's go back. Has anybody else thought of anything else? Otherwise, I'll probably wrap this up pretty soon and let K3LR here get some rest for work tomorrow. Who else has something? Anything? Wow. All right. Well, this has been great, and oh, I do. Look at that.
Invited to come to North Carolina Friends D-Star Day.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's good. So, similar to your Pennsylvania D-Star Net, we have a North Carolina and Friends D-Star Net that happens at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesday nights. It's on Reflector 54 Charlie, and we thought, you know, you're more than welcome to stop by anytime.
Yep.
54 Charlie, 9 p.m. on Tuesday nights. We'd love to see you. So, if we haven't got anything else, I am just going to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it a lot. You know, we all are extremely familiar with DX Engineering and with K3LR, and I'll drool over your setup there on a regular basis. And I'm just very appreciative of your time tonight, and I hope that you have a great summer, and you know, feel free to drop us a line anytime.
I keep saying it's a pleasure was all mine, and I really enjoy doing this, and certainly would be available to come back again. For those of you who have bought things from DX Engineering, I hope you were pleased with what you bought, and in our service, I am very maniacal about taking care of our customers. We appreciate your business, and certainly for those of you who are coming to Dayton, if you don't come to Contest University, at least stop down at the Crown Plaza, which is the downtown hotel, in the evenings, and make it a point to come to the second floor, where we have a very large ballroom suite for hospitality. The 4 nights there, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Basically have a party that starts at about 8 o'clock every night and goes till 1 o'clock in the morning. So I invite all of you that are coming to Dayton to come down to the Crown Plaza and say hello. And I look forward to hearing you all on the air. Make sure you say hello there too. And I might just show up on your D-Star net too. Scott, thanks for the invitation.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate it. We'll catch you on the air. And so for now, 73, have a great evening and take care. Thanks, Tim.
73, Scott.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Cool.
Yeah, right.
Everybody get on the sign-in sheet?
I did.
So let's go ahead, since we haven't started yet, let's start real quick and just run through intros. Like to start us off?
Jason, son of Ernie, and 4 JKW.
Charlie.
JK4WLE. Jim, W4JLH.
Byron, N4CTT.
Wayne, Kilo India 4, Alpha Victor Juliet.
David, AJ4TF.
Jeff, WF4CSA.
Kurt, WB4LMH.
Ben, KD4LHL.
Wayne, K6TWX.
Oh, yeah, BYU.
Steve, K1MAR.
Ken, KK4GSM.
Linda, KK4LHH.
Chan, KJ4ADX.
I'm Greg, KG4UQB.
Rick, KK4MHY.
Tommy,
K4FTL. Dan, N2LGH.
Tom, KB1P, my wife Marie.
Richard, WA2BJN.
Larry, K2LS.
Chris, K4HC.
Steve, KB7SQY.
Ray, KM4QGB.
David, KK4BCG.
Scott, KD4UB.
So cool. Welcome everybody, and I hope you all had a good Easter and happy spring. I don't have much as a president's report. Do we have any? I know we got treasurer report.
You want to go through anything coming up on the calendar?
Oh yeah, let's talk about the calendar. Sorry, it's a club meeting. Next weekend, April 2nd, is the RARS Fest, which is also North Carolina Section Convention. April 9th, Greensboro VE session if you need to upgrade or get your ticket. That is Thomas Valley Ham Fest, April 16th. I'm thinking that maybe isn't confirmed yet, so I'm not sure. Anyway, that's at the Burke County Fairgrounds. And then back into April Club meeting on the 25th. And what's happening on the 25th of April Club meeting?
Oh, guys, keep talking.
Okay, keep talking.
Oh,
Oh yeah, that would be cool. That's he's what, the president of AMSAT? Satellite, amateur satellite, AMSAT guys. So that'll be pretty cool to have him here, and
I'll tell you his name in a second.
I'm pretty excited about that one. And then let's see, treasurer. Vice
You want the
president.
treasure slides up?
Sure, let's do treasurer side. Well, just gonna put on bank balances here. Only disclaimer I have is the savings, it's current as of the end of 2015. Get in touch with the bank to get a more current statement. Had ran through all the receipts and PayPal stuff. I've got a roster with the list of people that have paid, and on the next slide I've got a list of people that still refuse, myself included. And it's only by call sign, I put names and stuff up there. And it didn't, it's like updated some of the letters, but we're missing quite a few dues. And I understand some of these people might not be in the club anymore, but I think we're gonna do an extension until June 1st. Yeah, so, because we had some
if you see yourself on this list and you paid dues, let me know. I need to know when. If you paid dues via PayPal between October 2015 and January 2015, I need to know. Okay. Okay. In between October and January? PayPal? Okay.
We have a problem with the October to December when I was president because the treasurer never gave us the report after he left. And we can't get into the PayPal account because it's password protected and he has the only password. So if you have paid by PayPal or by check or by cash from October through December when I was the president, please let Cameron know and we'll take your word for it.
I paid for 4 years.
Everybody's word except yours.
So yeah, we're trying to sort out that mess, but yeah. That's it.
Worth a try,
Nice try.
This guy, Barry Baines,
You just never.
is the president. Y'all, you know what AMSAT is?
Amateur Satellite Corporation.
Amateur satellites. Any of you ever do anything with amateur satellites? Okay.
Talked to the International Space Station.
Yeah, there you go. There is. There's the president.
Several of us in here did that.
So this guy, Barry Baines, is the president of AMSAT. He has a house in Georgia that he goes to every so often. He's actually going to be on his way to Georgia next month at the time of our meeting, so he will actually be here in person for the presentation in April. So tell your friends, all of your ham friends, to come out to the meeting next month. Or non-ham friends, maybe there's some kids up the block who like satellites. I don't know.
Turkey friends?
Do we have any other officer reports? Everybody? Anybody? I guess that's about it. If you were on that list and you paid via PayPal between October and January, please come tell me right now. And
They can.
oh, you want to talk about the Collins here?
Oh, sure.
Okay, we got a donation of some radio gears, Collins set, right?
Yeah, we have a whole set of Collins gear. We got a KWN2 transceiver and the power supply to go with it. Go ahead.
Get him to 312B5, which is a
Remote VFO, second VFO,
30L1 amplifier.
3001 amplifier.
Speaker power supply.
We got the 4 pieces to this Collins set that were donated to the club.
SM1 microphone.
And then we got some more microphone for 5 pieces. They were donated to the club. Not all of us know a lot about this gear, the operability of it or what. The thought is, we don't have a club station to put it at or to use it, so the thought is to sell it and then take the funds that it makes and put it towards repairs to our repeater setup at our repeater site, antennas and feed lines, some work that needs to go into the tower. So I think the thought is that we if any of you have a lot of experience with Collins gear and can look at it and give us any idea of, or if you know anyone who might be interested in purchasing it, once we have an idea of it's all in very good condition, I would say. I cleaned it up, it's sitting in my house right now, because there's no other place to put it, and great collector's items. And so if anybody has any contacts or would like to take a look at it, please let one of us know, so that we can, I don't think we want to sit on it forever. We would like to take that and put it towards improving our repeater setup. So
Didn't we have a double whammy a couple of weeks ago, since our last meeting?
Double whammy.
The N4G and something else?
We did have, yeah, the N4G event. You want to talk about it?
Sure. There
Hey, I was
was
wondering if you're gonna do that.
You never ask.
You can talk about the VE sessions too.
Yeah, sure. We didn't have any in March.
Well, that's
In
true.
Greensboro, but we did, well, I'll start with that. We had, nine applicants in High Point on Saturday. And, we have, out of that, we have, 6 new techs, 1 new general and 1 new extra. So that was good. Let's see, N4G. So many of you worked out there. For those of you who didn't, shame on you. You missed a great time.
Did?
Yeah. Byron, as usual, was my overnight Iron Man, and we actually made some JT65 contacts. He got his JT65 set up working, and as soon as I got there Sunday morning, we made, what, half a dozen, maybe, a dozen? So that was cool, and I made a few PSK31, that's what I brought my radio out for, but sideband was the big winner. We made 1,107 or so contacts in 27 hours. So it's pretty good. It's the most we've ever done. We knew it was going to be a big deal because of the National Parks on the Air. And when I got the logs put together and uploaded in the logbook of the world, I had 500 matches as soon as I uploaded. So people were waiting for those matches. And unbeknownst to me, we also worked 5 other national parks on the air stations. So when I went back and looked at the log and said N4G, it's, oh, we worked 5, without knowing it. So although that's, we're probably number 2,100 in the nation or something like that for national parks on the air, but we weren't trying for that. And that's, we worked 5 other ones.
You worked the National Boy Scout Jamboree also.
Did we? Okay.
You know
All right.
how many states we work?
No, I could probably pull that from the log. We did work a few DX stations, not many, but some. You probably worked a few. And I think you worked Italy or something like that, right? So the thing that I learned something new every year. But the thing I learned this year was match people with their skill sets. Right, Steve? The other Steve, K4RCI, a lot of people know Steve 4. I sat down with Steve 4 and I said, okay, he had never worked a contest or anything, or any kind of pilot before. So I said, let me try the mic, even though I'm not a big contester, but I listen to the experts here. Chris. I'll tell a funny story about Chris in a minute. But so Steve, as you know, is an over-the-road truck driver, and as you may know, and computers are not his strong suit. We'll just put it that way. So I said, you log. All you got to do is type. And I started, as soon as I started calling CQ, boom, pile up his write-offs. So I had to apologize to Steve because I got a little frustrated with him. And so finally, we switched. And then Josh, has any of you all talked to Josh? He lives up in Danville, Virginia. He actually came down, a W4JLN. I always get him confused with you. It's W4JLN. So he came down. He's like an IT programmer guy, like a few in here. I said, oh, okay. You get on the computer, Steve, you get the mic. And they were a perfect team. Steve does what he likes to do best, talk. Not this Steve, the other Steve. And then Josh, who was very nervous about getting on the air, was taking care of the login. So that worked, matching people with a skill set. So then Chris came out, and I was looking for something to do because all the stations were busy. And I said, Chris, you want me to log for you? He says, nah, I got it. So he's got the microphone in one hand, the Dr. Pepper in the other hand, and he's logging with his feet. Something like that. But Yeah, I got a couple pictures and videos.
At lightning speed.
At lightning speed, as Chris is known to do, so. Anyway, it was a good time. We tore everything down at noon on Saturday, right before the rain came. I mean, literally. We got everything torn down and put up 5 minutes before it started raining, so. It was good.
Awesome.
So, anyway, thanks to everybody who helped, provided equipment, who provided warm selves in the seat, and everything else. And thank you for the picture stock. So I think that's it. Any questions? The only question I had for you is, why weren't you there?
I was there.
Yeah, the people who weren't there. So anyway, it was good time.
Thank you. Richard, do you want to talk about your antenna at the school?
I just want to ask for a little bit of help. WA2BJN, Rich, volunteer teacher, former teacher. My amateur radio school station has suffered a hit this winter with basic gap tightened vertical. Something has gone north with it, and the SWR has gone floozy. So I'm asking if anybody has any time on a Tuesday afternoon after school, or a Thursday afternoon after school, or a Saturday or a Sunday, would like to come over to my school, Jefferson Primary, to look at the antenna, and maybe somebody would be willing to go up on the roof, which is about 15 feet, a flat surface, to look at the antenna and see if we can get the thing straightened out. It's a gap vertical antenna. My call is WA2BJN. You can contact me via email, telephone call to the club, or what have you. I'd love some. Thank you.
WA2BJN at avamorl.net.
No, that's not gonna work. WA2BJN, I tried, no, that's not gonna work either. I better mark it down for you. Just call me. Or your QRZ.
Go on QRZ, there you go.
You'll find me there. You'll find me there. Thanks.
Just for information, I believe Mr. Jim over there had a birthday a couple of days ago.
No, yesterday.
Yeah, well.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, he made it. The little girl that normally waits on us, I found out a couple of months ago, about a month ago, she found out she had cancer at Christmas. And I found out a few minutes ago, it's everywhere. So, what can I say? Found out a few minutes ago that she smoked more than I did. And I did it for 48 years. And I've been quit 11 and a half. And if I knew I'd die next week, the store wouldn't have any left.
Anything else? Anybody got anything you want to share?
I have a question. The club doesn't have a station to operate. Is there any way, I know you're affiliated with a church, he's affiliated with a school. Is there any way, or does anybody know there where we can set up and then periodically take these new techs and operate?
That's a good question. I would love to see this club have a home shack to operate out of. Do North Carolina QSO party, or any contest, or just take you guys up to the shack and operate on the weekend or whatever. I think that would be great. And I don't know, a lot of our neighbors to the west, Forsyth, they have a shack at the American Red Cross building, and then our neighbors to the east in Alamance County, they have a shack in the city garage in Burlington. So government and nonprofits are good partners a lot of times in those. So I don't know if anybody has any ideas pop up, we'd love to hear about them. We do have club equipment, and we've got antennas and radios and stuff like that, so we could get it running pretty quick. Yes, Roy?
We had a station, 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, and then on weekends, and nobody ever used it, so they took it down.
That's
Very
because
seldom anybody used it, shall I say.
that doesn't really count.
Uh,
Being in a fishbowl in a museum is not the same as having a club ham shack.
Oh, I'm already there, but it could be used by anybody, and nobody ever did, or very seldom.
People used it sometimes, but it was kind of an awkward
I
situation.
said very seldom.
But anyway, I think a real club shack would get used more than that, and I don't know.
if anybody has any ideas, or knows somebody that might have some ideas, we're all ears. It'd be a fun thing to do, so.
And keep in mind, if you have any connections, because of our 501c3 status now, it could be considered a donation, a charitable donation. So it could be advantageous for someone who owns some space that's not being used right now to give us a shot at it.
I know there's a church on State Street that has an upstairs that they want to rent, but they're afraid about the keeping, they were pretty much open to my suggestion, but they're afraid of keeping equipment there. They didn't mind putting antenna on the roof, but they were afraid to be responsible for equipment being stored in that room.
Well, maybe we should go talk to him.
Okay, I'll get the name for you.
All right. Sounds good. I think that's it.
All right, make a motion that,
Or-
that we close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Well, thank you.
Yeah, don't forget.
Jeff, good to see you.
You have to wait for.
Good to eat with you, yes, sir. You get bad, you guys, they give you a bad.